lost all control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. So you're stuck with me now. That's it. I've closed the doors. I've sealed the entrance. It's entrance only. No exiting allowed. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is our Night Terrors. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are going to have a great show, I hope. That's always the objective. I like to believe that we usually hit the mark, but you guys keep coming back, so I guess that's a pretty good indication that we're doing something okay. And thank you to all of you for all your amazing support. I really appreciate it. Great to see you all coming in the door as I speak. It's always phenomenal to see those numbers just climbing and jumping, and you guys all coming in and saying hello. You guys have this amazing community in there, and it's just incredible in the chat room to see what you guys have done and what you do. And thank you all for creating it around me and the show. It's just really humbling. So thank you guys. And of course, if you're new to the show, the Night Terrors are a shorter format of the Paranormal Portal. On Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, we have 2-hour shows. But on the other nights are the Night Terror nights, and those are right around 1 hour, usually 50 minutes to an hour, right in there is the window I usually shoot for. And so usually just discuss stories and whatever, but the call board will be open, as it always is here on the portal, and you can call in and be a part of the show if you have something paranormal of your very own that you'd like to share. I'd love to hear from you. So the number to call in is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Or if you decide a little later you want to call in, well, then the number's right up there. So it's right up there. If you want to call in and talk to me later, I'll be here waiting for you. So anyway, we, I guess, are just about underway here, but I hope you're all ready because it's time for bed. All right, everybody, and we are now underway, and this is, again, the Night Terrors, and I hope you're all ready to be night terrored. I don't even know if that makes sense for sure or not, but I went with it. I went on a limb and just went for it, so we'll see how that all works out for me, but I think it will. Let's see. I've got some stories pulled up for you guys. I hope you guys are going to enjoy. They're the usual spooky variety, which we love so much here on the portal. No, I mean, I don't know if they're incredibly spooky or not, but I like them. Let's see. There's more from that same person. I'll just close it. We'll hit them sooner or later anyway. So let me get to tonight's stories, and we'll see what we can dig up here on the show. Well, what the hell happened there? Oh, that was another one. Yeah, same one. Sorry, I just had some tabs open from last night, and that one's as well. Okay. Never mind. I'm getting everything all adjusted and situated. I've been working on more animations today for the shows and for some people who are near and dear to my heart. So I've been kind of busy and going about 5 different directions as usual. But I always look forward to my nights here with you guys. So thank you so much. Oh, not that one. I don't even like those. I got to be careful what I pull open because some of them, I mean, they're good stories and all, but they're not really narrative friendly. They're just kind of facts, and and while they're fun to read as an enthusiast of the paranormal, they don't make for good entertainment here on on a show discussing encounters and such. So I try to avoid those. This person submitted two. Okay. So I got a few pulled up here, so let's get into this. But I hope you guys are all having a great night. And once again, thank you all for being here and being a part of the shows. It is always a sincere pleasure to see and greet all of you. So thank you. And, toasted graham. That sounds good. Ethan Seal says he's drinking toasted graham. Oh, by the way, I was going to let you guys know. Every once in a while I get these really cool messages, and also these people they're very flattering, which is really nice. But this person also told me about their music and stuff, and I did go and check it out. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this person is truly talented, and his name is it's more hip hop rap driven music, which normally is really not my thing. But I gotta tell you, his melodies are tight, his lyrics are solid, his flow is really smooth, and his vocal style is really unique. The guy has all kinds of talent. He writes, he performs, he produces all of his own music, and he is known on YouTube as Slumlord Kennedy. Again, Slumlord Kennedy. So I would encourage you to check out his channel on YouTube if you like hip hop rap. You're gonna like this guy's stuff, I think. I mean, I like it, and like I said, it's not usually my thing, but I really can appreciate what he's done, and I really enjoyed his music a lot. I listened to 3 songs and liked all 3, and again, that doesn't usually happen for me. I usually like 1 or 2 maybe, but I listened to 3 in a row, and all 3 of those I liked, and he's got a whole bunch more yet on his channel. So again, Slumlord Kennedy, check out his channel on YouTube, give him some love, give him a subscribe if you're into that. If it's not your thing, then don't bother. I mean, it's not important to throw random subscribes out there, because I don't think that helps anybody. It doesn't add to your entertainment, and it doesn't help his channel really just to have a number that doesn't come and listen to the stuff. So if you're into it, though, check it out. Again, Slumlord Kennedy. And of course, check out our good friend Peter Turk's music, and you can find Peter Turk on Spotify. I'm sure he's out there on other platforms as well, but that's where I find him and listen to his music all the time. It's brilliant. His stuff is just brilliant, and he's our good friend from Down Under. So let's get back to it. I'm sorry, this isn't I just like to help promote people when I see talent out there, and they're kind enough to come by and share the word about us, and so it's the very least I can do, is to try to support other people as well. So I hope you guys understand that, and I hope you're open to that. That's not my place to try to sell you on things, but I'm just sharing little treasures that I find. And all right, so the first story tonight is coming from Indiana, ladies and gentlemen, and what's going on there? It's a story about family and friends visits. Oh, this should be good. The back door to our house is really supposed to be the front door. As you walk in our back door, we call this room the mud room. Yeah, we got those up here in the north of Idaho. I suppose they would have them in Indiana too, but anywhere you have snow, you got mud rooms because there's always a room where you got to pound out your shoes and leave them out there and stuff before you go in the house. And you walk past the washer and dryer, a small wall, the furnace, water softener, which we do not use, and a deep freeze. And when you walk through the doorway into the house properly, you're standing in the kitchen. To the right is the living room, and to the right of the living room and against the wall of the mudroom is my bedroom and the master bath. If you go back out into the kitchen and walk through it, you come to the dining room. Walking through the dining room, you get to the family room. Off the family room is my son's room on the right, and my daughter's room also on the right. And at the end of the hall is the children's/visitors' bathroom on the left. It is impossible to keep our home equally heated or cooled. Most often my room is either stuffing hot so that the children are warm on their end of the house, or it seems freezing cold to ensure that the children are not hot in the summertime. That long explanation short, my room in November is usually a sauna. The other night, my son and I were sitting on my bed watching his favorite series. We were really only half watching it as the set kept jumping. It's a new set, and we were visiting with my father-in-law. His communications have come to be remarkably slower than they had been a year ago. I'm not sure what he means by communications here, so I don't know if he's using a Ouija board or they doing a seance or what's going on. I don't know. He passed on November 4th of last year, and I'm afraid this means that he's about to leave us for the land of many summers for an extended stay. My husband, Race, walked into the room and said, "Why is it so bleeping cold in here?" My son and I just looked at each other and resumed what we were doing. Race then walked into the bathroom and emerged with a puzzled expression on his face. Race had just checked both registers and warm air was belching out as normal. Race then went to check on the furnace in the children's section of the house. It was all normal. Race thought about this for a few hours that it took for bedtime for our 5-year-old to roll around. We ignored him. And we were busy watching the telly and let him check things out for a change. When we retired to our bedroom, after putting the little guy to bed, we flipped on the light. We have a light on the ceiling fan built in. It is old. No pull cord on the light. And one for the fan. And if the light is turned on, the fan spins. At first, I did not notice the fan was not spinning until I realized that it was getting rather warm in the room, and I pointed it out to Race, and he began investigating. After approximately 4 hours of the fan not running, the little guy goes to bed rather early, my husband declared the motor dead. Immediately following, the fan began to spin. Assuredly that he would not roast in his sleep, my husband just shrugged it off and got into bed. I followed suit, and nothing else happened the remainder of the night. Until about 4 a.m, when our little guy came bounding into our room and on the bed to start his new day. So it's not over the top kind of stuff there, ladies and gentlemen, but is that just a coincidence? Could be. It's one of those things though that, those coincidences to me could just as easily be paranormal, and most people would just write it off as, well, that's weird. Go figure, that was odd. But why couldn't they be? I mean, what are the odds that an electronic device would malfunction? And once you make a reference about it being, malfunctioning, boom, it starts working. I mean, what are really the odds of that happening? And when you think about it, I think it's pretty astronomical, but to each his own, whatever you guys think. But that's the first story of the night. So I didn't write it. I'm just bringing it to you. Now, this one is about a psychic medium kind of experience. And it's coming from California. And it says, this happened a few short years ago. I hadn't been invited. Good Lord, what the hell's wrong with my mouth tonight? I had been invited to a wonderful but small gathering of family and friends, and we'd be celebrating the holidays together, and I was happy. As soon as I entered the residence, I was assaulted by an onslaught of muddy air. It was like walking into a thick air. As it was, I was draped in festive sweater and slacks, and I started to sweat immediately, and I started to feel a bit woozy. I hate it when this happens because I have to keep smiling, pretend nothing is happening. I was becoming increasingly uncomfortable, and I felt my nighttime glasses sliding down my nose. And I wear these big old glasses so that I can see, and getting older has its negatives, but I refuse to go in for eye surgery. Yeah, I have tried contacts, but they are more uncomfortable than the glasses. I'll just stick to looking goofy. Sorry, back to my experience. I was getting a lot of signals from an entity, and it was apparent that this spirit or soul wanted my attention. So much so, my legs kept buckling out from under me. Can you imagine being at a party and seeing paranormal activity, but having to act like you don't? I did my best to ignore him, but he towered over me the entire night and kept demanding that I help him. I gathered up my courage to go talk to my host and either leave or do something to help this trapped soul. To make a long story short, my host asked me to stay, and after the last holiday guest left, I sent this soul onward out of respect and request for privacy I haven't mentioned much more info here. The host requested a cleansing be done as well, so I did so. And although it wasn't necessary, sometimes just going through a ritual will help the people left behind. This stuck soul moved on rather easily, and you can see the photo taken from the party, and my energy aura life force is clearly being pulled up through my open palm and atop my head. You can see the entity standing across from me, and he appears to be in a bright gold band of light. And there is a white mist along the floor and atop the ceiling, but it doesn't show in the picture. It says the entity, well, he was deceased, obviously, relative of the hostess, who had died after suffering from dementia. And this is what he carried in his spiritual body, and it took a few hours for him to appear lucid enough to understand what I was gently explaining. When he got it, he was excited to go, and it was amazing to watch him walk into the white portal of ethereal light, and I was, finally, able to go home and drop into a very deep sleep. They managed to find me, the deceased, and if I'm led to help, I do so. I listen for a higher source. God leads me in every step that I take, and I'm just a working tool to be used for the greater good. It has nothing to do with me, and I take no credit here. Oh, and I did post the picture to my website if you want to see it. Oh, the picture's actually here, ladies and gentlemen, so let's take a look. Oh, that's a pretty big picture, too. Okay, let's have a look at this. You guys can see the picture in question. I'm going to drag it over here if I can. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I've got it over here, and it is interesting. It's some weird variations of light going on there. Very cool. So there is the picture, ladies and gentlemen, and she claims that you can see her energy being pulled. And it looks like it's all the way through, though. It's not just from her palm and such. It's truly bands of light all through this region here. Now, fair enough. I don't see anything for sure that should be casting. There's this reflective surface back here, but I don't see anything that should be casting these multiple bands. Could it be from this reflective source? Maybe. But could it be spiritual? Maybe. The spirit photography stuff is really hard because it's often leaves a lot for the interpretation. And if you come from a real scientific and skeptical background, you're never going to look at something like this and say, well, that's obviously spirits, because it's just bands of light. It's very ambiguous. And nobody's going to look at that and go, well, that's proof of, spirits in photography, because it certainly isn't. But given the experiences that she says she experienced, it stands to reason that it very well could be an actual spiritual presence. And of course, spiritual presences are energy. They are energetic. So they're not always going to appear like people. They can appear like little orbs, as we know, or, bands of light might be way more common than we think. I often don't think of spirits when I'm seeing these kind of anomalies, but I gotta admit that you don't often hear spirits being represented this way in spirit photography. So now maybe I've not looked into the phenomena really deeply, but there's usually a lot of different ways that these can happen, and usually it's some form of lens flare. But again, the only reflective surface I see is here. Now there is obviously a flash being used that's illuminating and giving everything a lot of a lot of deep shadow on the off axis here. And then there is that whatever this is back there, some kind of, looks like a metal pole. Now, could that be projecting back onto the lens itself in more of an array from that? Yeah, it could be. I mean, is it possible? Sure, it's possibly a spirit photo. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys. I can't make any distinct conclusions from this, but I find it interesting, and so I shared it. So, but I do love looking at those kind of things because I think it gives us a good chance to discuss some of that and to, things that I look for. Not that I'm an expert. I am definitely not a photography expert in terms of any kind, actually. I mean, I've gone to college for some photography courses, and I'm close to a associate's degree, but that still doesn't make me an expert. It just makes me someone that knows how to take pictures. So, but I think it's interesting. So I hope you guys enjoyed that all the same. All right, let's go to another one. Okay, and this one is coming from Texas. It's rather short, so let's see what's going on here. Let me do this. Get back to that. Okay, so this is Texas, ladies and gentlemen, and in Texas, they're having poltergeists and physical manifestations. So this should be good. It says, about 2 years ago, I felt a strong presence that I could never get away from. Just about the same time my beloved uncle passed away. The first story is when I was in the hall at school last year, and I was going to my 8th grade class, and I just went into the class, and I was the only one in the classroom. Then out of nowhere, a pen flew across the room. The next one is from this year. I opened my locker and I pulled out my books, and it closed by itself. Then I was doing the normal math work, and I went into the restroom, and when I got back, my paper looked like it had college problems on it. And when I showed it to the teacher, she looked at me like I was a college student. The next one is when I was playing basketball for my school. I made a 3-pointer and the ball just came up and right through the hoop. When I was focusing on the play we were running, and out of nowhere, I felt a hard push and I fell to the floor, and the guy with the ball just fell too. And when I was switched out, my phone rang and my mom called. And when I asked her about it, she said she didn't call. This one is the final story. My school is also haunted, and this ghost is the one from my school. I think I was in the restroom, and the door flew in. It says I think, rather. There's a ghost in the school, I think, period. Sorry, I got to break this up correctly. I was in the restroom, and the door flew open, and then the lights went off. I checked who it was, but it was a girl. I took a closer look, and it had red eyes and blood dripping from its mouth. I ran out and never went to the 4th hall again. Huh. I don't know. Could be, I guess. It sounds kind of brief and dramatic, but then again, not everybody's an author, a writer. So, could it be? Yeah, I guess. All right, this one should be interesting. It has to do with, it's called A Visitor from Hell, and it has to do with demons, possessions, and exorcisms. And it's long. It's a pretty long story. And it's coming out of New York, so buckle up. This should be good. If you like dark stories. I don't know. Let's see what's happening. It says, I came upon this site, blah, 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 fluff. I got to get through the fluffy stuff at the front end. Let's see. The Stranges of England were cited today in the Telegraph, excuse me, on an online paper for expats from England. No, I'm not one. And as having a sofa from which the strange noises were emitting, and their fearless Yorkshire Terrier was freaking out. I came from my Google search from the sounds that they apparently put online. I never did find them to this place and read the story of the strange occurrences in an apartment. I write to you all because of the widespread notion that paranormal experiences are mere curiosities. This is politically correct notion that springs from a social mentality of pandemic secularism. Wow. In short, people have massively forgotten God and equally massively deny the reality of the devil and his hordes and minions. I had an experience in New York City, New York, which was the cause of my conversion to Catholicism. My wife, a cradle Catholic, and I were in show business and had fallen on hard times. She knew about Catholic novellas, 9 days of prayer, to a particular saint, and suggested we try one, which was known to the faithful to be a sure thing. The 54th day Rosary Novena to the Blessed Virgin. 54 days, of course, are 3 9-day novenas, I don't know, in petition. And again, three 9-day novenas in Thanksgiving for a particular favor. And we were destitute at the time, which in New York City is no fun at all, I can assure you. So what did we have to lose? I knew that there were a lot of performers who were getting quite lucrative jobs in New York, law firms as word processors. So I tried going to agencies and taking placement tests, and I failed miserably and was virtually laughed out of the offices I went to. It had been over 20 years since I had taken a summer typing course during junior high, and I couldn't remember anything. Undaunted, we proceeded upon this irresistible novena, as it is called, as the Blessed Virgin cannot refuse the request of someone that devoted and trusting who does this discipline through to the end. I ended up getting a job with a Wall Street firm, unable to type and having no idea how to even turn on a computer, never having worked with one before. It was nip and tuck, but when the firm finally dissolved, I was part of the 20% of the original staff still remaining. I had really come a long way by the grace of God. Now, not being satisfied with showing me just how generous, gracious, merciful, and loving God really is, he demonstrated to me exactly what my previously licentious, filthy life would have merited had I died in the state of mortal sin I was perpetually living in. One night, lying in bed and praying the rosary, which prayer has a list of 15 promises attached to it, one of which is signal graces associated with its practice, God permitted the veil of the spiritual world to part and allowed me to hear the voice of a demon, which had been and continues to be plaguing me since my youth. It was a voice saturated, murderous, furious, simultaneously thermonuclear, hot and liquid nitrogen, cold rage, and it hissed straight into my left ear, "I will kill you all." I screamed in terror, ballistically propelled myself off the mattress, and landed on my knees at the foot of the bed, sweating profusely, begging God to spare my wretched soul from that fate. My wife, who had not heard it, was looking at me like I had lost my mind, crying, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" This experience led me to research exhaustively what the Catholic Church had to say about hell, a topic which is never heard from the pulpit anymore, and I found story after story from the dreams of St. Don Bosco, as well as the story of the most heroic woman ever lived, Sister Josefina Menendez, a young nun chosen by Christ as the most miserable example of a human being he could find in order to use her weakness to save souls, and who was sent into hell numerous times to witness to it and report back to the faithful what it was really like. And numerous other such saints. And they are saints for a grave reason, having shared in the suffrage of Christ in the most exponential manner possible. There is the story of a damned soul who would not listen to her Catholic friends' admonitions, found here, and they give a link, of course. So friends, the only reason I try to direct your attention is to try to draw you back into realizing what you are dealing with in the paranormal experiences you are sharing. May well be something you are ill prepared for, and may be a device of the devil to take advantage of catechized, I don't know, folks who find the demonic merely a curiosity. It shall not remain so forever, and I cannot warn you in strong enough terms to consider the Catholic Church, which alone has the sacraments of Christ to protect us from the snares and traps of the devil. He exists, please believe me. And as the lost soul stated, I hate the devil too, and yet I'm pleased about him because he tries to ruin all of you. He and his satellites, the fallen with him at the beginning of time, there are millions of them. They roam around the earth as thick as a swarm of flies, and you do not even notice it. Please pay attention to the last sentence and start your prayer lives fasting and save your eternal souls. Only the Catholic Church has the answer. God bless you. This story is brought to you by Future Catholics of the world. Only the Catholic Church, really? Well, I'm not mocking that. I mean, that's fine. Again, I think if somebody has a faith, whatever that faith is, and it gives you peace, it gives you feelings of warmth, connectedness to the divine, protection, and brings you peace and love, then that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. But don't act like there's only one answer. And unfortunately, that's in so much of the dogma, and it's unfortunate because I don't know. I don't get into that whole thing. And that's not me telling you what to believe. You believe whatever you choose. And if that's where you find your hope and peace and love, fantastic. I'm absolutely thrilled for you. But that whole, only we have the answer. Really? Wow. Well, anyway, I'm not going to say anything more. My tongue is just loaded with these things that I'd love to say, but they're wholly inappropriate. And, they are maybe even venomous words, but I'll leave it at that. So wherever you find your love, good. I am proud and happy for you. All right, then the next one is, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I don't pre-read these, so if I had pre-read that, I would have never read that on the show. Not because I want to censor somebody from a truth or a possibility. That's certainly not the case. I just don't advocate that, hey, we're right and everyone else is wrong. Come join us. We have cookies. It's like, come on, a universal God, a universal deity is, so completely encapsulated into one dogmatic practice. I don't know. All I can say is it doesn't fit for me. Oh, I was going to get a different bottle. I don't want this bottle cracking in the mic. I'm trying to be professional anyway. But anyway, sorry, I don't mean to go on about things like that, but I just had somebody, basically threatening me with going to hell if I didn't bow down to Christ. And I don't take that very well. I don't take that very well at all. All right, not that I'm coming from a place of pride or whatever, but I just don't think that a perfect, beautiful, divine light could be so hateful and hurtful. I just don't believe that could possibly be the right message. All right, here we go. This is Illinois. Just so you know, this is a continuation to my first story. Well, great. I astral projected and did a lot of things and have proof that it wasn't just a dream, but some things started happening after I projected, and this is how it went. It was 3 days ago when I woke up that Saturday morning at around 8 a.m., and I wanted to astral project. Many people have their ways of doing this, but the way I do it is consecutively sleeping again and again. By doing so, relaxes my body to an immobile state. Now that I'm immobile, I thought of leaving my body, and I did. I was floating above my bed, and I looked at my body, and I was out cold. I was amazed that it worked. I flew through my wall and flew through the sky, and it felt different from in my body. The air you feel on your face was much better, and the sun made you feel more warm. After joyriding out of my body, I felt the disturbance, and it felt like my body was being disturbed at home. So I thought of warping into my house where my body was, and there I was at home. Now I freaked out. I was in my room, and I saw my cousin chewing gum, and he was throwing the wrappers at me laughing. Then he walked into the living room, and next my older brother came and took his red and black hat he just got to show my parents. And my body started moving and waking up, so I was being magnetized back into my body. And I tried to fly, but I couldn't get away. Now here's where it gets interesting. I jumped up and ran to my cousin and said, "Why did you throw your wrappers at me?" He replied, "How did you know I did that?" I told him, "I saw you," and he started to laugh. Next, I went to my brother and said, "You're going to wear a red and black cap, right?" He said, "Yeah, why?" And he pulled it from behind him. I was right. I did see them, but my body was asleep, and I knew I achieved astral projection for the first time. But that night, weird things happened. I was watching TV at 9:38 p.m. Wow, that's pretty precise. And I was hearing a screeching noise in my head, and it would make a sound and leave and then return. And then on the left side of my head, I got a really cold chill. So I knew some sort of anomaly was nearby. It was dark, so I went to cut on the pantry light, which is connected to my kitchen, and I had enough light to look into the front room and saw a human-shaped figure, pitch black, like a shadow. But it had a pattern on the sides of its head, like a silver thunderbolt going horizontal. Well, I ran because it moved so fast towards my direction, and I ran into my next room next to my dog sleeping, and my brother and cousin came, and I told them, and they didn't believe me. And it was at 12:40 a.m. when everyone arrived home and went to sleep that we heard whistling in our room. Now that I astrally projected, I see more weird things lately. Yesterday, someone was behind me, following me up the stairs to my house, and my dog stares at the bed like he spots somebody. Maybe it's a side effect from astral projecting, but I still like astral projecting. Even now, I feel those chills on the left side of my face, and when I do see something. But my brother told me that means I have heightened awareness and I see things other people can't. The black cloak guy pays visits here and again, but never does anything, just glares and leaves. I thought having a thing to sense spiritual activity was in everybody, but I'm the only one in my family who sees it. Well, I think that that's probably true. That once you're able to do a spiritual feat like that it probably does awaken something inside of us and inside of our more dormant abilities. And I think that astral projection is a very real ability that we have, and perhaps, there's it's probably different for everybody to a degree, but certainly doing things like that or meditating a lot will awaken those more dormant things in you. And you may start seeing things and you may start experiencing things that you hadn't before. And I think that that's fine. But here's the thing, and it's an old saying, but it's very true. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. So before you work really hard on opening those eyes and seeing the things that are there and always have been, you've got to be ready to live with that. And that's something that I don't know that anybody is ever really prepared for, because it's a whole different world and it's got a different set of circumstances attached to it. And I don't think it's not that we're not supposed to be there. I think that it's our birthright, but I just think, maybe sometimes it's a good reason we can't, just naturally do it, but some people can. But anyway, I guess, again, just be careful what you wish for. It's that old adage. You can't unsee something. All right, let's go to the next one. Oh, this is kind of wild. So this has to do with apparently sleep paralysis, which does come up a lot in these stories, and it is certainly potentially paranormal. I know the term sleep paralysis is used medicinally or medically, and there is, I believe very much, there is a phenomena of more of a medical nature where there's just, I've said this a lot on the show, and I hope it doesn't seem to be too redundant, but, I think it's good to cover this stuff, and we always have new listeners. But I think that sleep paralysis in the medical terms does exist, and I think that many people do experience that. And it is more of a physiochemical thing with our bodies and with waking and, being in that in-between state where that, whatever that chemical is called, isn't quite burned off in our system, and we're kind of stuck there. We're wide awake, but we're unable to do anything. Now, I do also very much believe that there is a supernaturally induced state that is very similar to that. And perhaps these supernatural entities are able to trigger that. And that's why it's so similar, that they can, while it does probably happen naturally to some people at some times, it can potentially be triggered by an energetic being who's able to manipulate energetic fields. And perhaps that's something they can do in our mind, is bring us out of that REM sleep or into that sleep pattern but we're still stuck there while they do whatever the hell they want to. And it seems that what they want to do is to induce fear, because that is a form of what many to believe a sustenance for them, or a food of some kind. Or, I can't even begin to imagine what it is they gain from that, or why they need that, but they apparently do. But let's get into the story and see what takes shape in this narrative. It says, what happened 3 years ago during summer break was the most terrible of all the things to happen to me. I don't know if I had an OBE, but something of evil intent was there. It was at 6:30 a.m. and I, in my room, talking on the phone with my girlfriend for about 30 minutes, making it 7 a.m. Since everyone was out of the house but me, I could talk to her for a while. I was wide-eyed, and the next minute I felt so tired, so I decided to get some rest. When I awoke, it was 9:15 a.m. I had a light-up radio clock, so I saw the time. It was dark because it was nighttime. And what? It was dark because it was nighttime. It says 9:15 a.m. I don't know. I don't understand that timeline at all in this story. But anyway, we'll continue. And I started getting up out of my bed and moving to my bathroom. I caught on to this and tried to prevent it, but then my body gave in and let it happen. I appeared in my bathroom and walked across the bathroom mirror, and I noticed I didn't see my reflection, but when I went back, I saw a reflection of me, but it wasn't. I had a white shirt, and my reflection had a blue shirt. My eyes, iris, are hazel, a brownish greenish amber-like color. My reflections was blood red, and it was staring at me, covered in blood, and it was looking so evilly, like he wanted to kill me. But I couldn't move away. I was absolutely frozen still. This is where it gets horrible. The reflection starts talking to me. It starts saying, "Why are you afraid of yourself?" I couldn't talk, but I tried to reply to it in my mind. I said myself, "I linger inside of you. I'm the one who will corrupt you." Now I started to worry because I know it has control over my body. I said, "Where did you come from?" It replies, "I am from all of the hatred you have over everything which I feed from for power, and soon I'll have enough to kill you." So I said, "If you're a part of me, killing me means you die too, no?" Saying this ticks the thing off, and it's grinning and chuckling. "You are correct, but you are still a fool." Its hands looked like it was reaching out of the mirror towards me, and it touched my shoulder, and I felt dizzy, as if I lost a lot of blood, and then it said, "You will see what I will become, but first, see what I am now." The vision he showed me was so horrible. I never told my family. It was some sort of deformed beast with 4 eyes and big horns, and its left arm was bony and little, and the right was big and pulsing. Its legs were connected like a big tail, and it looked like it was growing. It looked decayed and rotten, but it was alive, and the vision disappeared. The thing in the mirror yelled, "Be gone." And I had my control back, and I ran outside my house and waited for my parents to come home. I never told anyone about this, and I thought, if what it was saying is true, then it does linger in me. But I will always deny it is. Huh. What do you know? It's possible. Eesh. That's a pretty disturbing one. I don't know if that would be necessarily a sleep paralysis as much as, I don't know if I'd even say oppression. Not necessarily a demonic oppression, but I think that there are, things that are, I don't know, something in between. They are perhaps dark, perhaps light. They can be either, but I think that there are tricksters, for lack of a better word. And, that's a pretty dark trick, but still, could it be demonic? Sure. Yeah, it could be. If I was that person, I'd definitely be looking into getting some cleansing and having someone try to push this thing out, whatever the hell it is. That's really spooky. Really spooky stuff. All right, let's get some more stories pulled up because we're chewing through them, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Oh, a special thank you to everybody for all the kind words last night. I played the new song and the new animation that I built, and many wonderful compliments. So I thank you guys very much for that. I don't know. I kind of go out on a limb, and it's not meant to be self-aggrandizing. I'm not doing it so I can, show off or anything, but I just like to show you guys the things that we're developing for the show, because I think for any show to grow and to continue to be valid, it takes a lot of work. You got to continually evolve and adapt what you're doing, and not only in terms of the material we cover and how we cover it, but since YouTube is such a visual format, I want to keep it visually exciting and, auditorily exciting as well. So I hope you guys understand. It's not, hey, I'm going to show off some more. That's really not my motivation, but it really does feel good when you guys appreciate that stuff. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate that. And it was really gratifying to hear that all that work, at least looks good and sounds good. So the chat's going its own direction. Oh man, there's 53 of you here. Well, it's good to have all 53 of you here. I'm excited for this to grow and to see, no offense, I love all 53 of you, don't get me wrong, but I am excited to look up and see 153 or 200 and some. That'll be really cool. It'll be a lot of fun. It's already a lot of fun, but it'll be a lot more fun. So keep spreading the word, please. Let's go to Texas. What time is it now? On the clock, the show clock. Oh yeah, we got about 10 minutes left. So actually, this might be the last story. It's pretty long. Coming out of Texas, and it has to do with haunted places. It says, I lived in my house in Cypress, Texas for a little more than a year and a half, but everything began happening about a year ago. It all started with my daughter, who was 9 years old at the time. She and I were sitting on the couch one evening, and she looks at me and says, Mom, can I sleep with you tonight? I told her she was too old and she should sleep in her own bed. She had tears in her eyes, so I asked her why, and she was embarrassed to say, but after some encouragement, she said, I see a dark figure in my room. And I asked her where in her room she sees it, and she says, at the end of her bed. But in hopes of alleviating her fears, I tell her maybe it's the Wizard of Oz characters in the large picture that hangs on the wall, and she says, no, Mom, it's not the picture because I can't see the picture through the figure. Well, chills ran through my whole body, and of course I let her sleep with me that night. The next night I put my daughter to bed in her room and went to the other room to fold laundry. About 15 minutes later, I turned around. My daughter's standing there, pale, with tears running down her cheeks, begging to sleep in my bed again, and she tells me there's something in her room. She feels and hears it coming up to her bed while she's lying down. And she describes it like it's breathing on her and smelling her. And from that night on, with the exception of her friend spending the night, she sleeps with me. Not long after that, my son, who was 12 at the time, has his own experience. While coaching my daughter's soccer practice, my son stayed at home to finish his homework, and he calls me scared, wanting me to come home, and I'm worried because he never gets scared. He said while sitting in the dining room table, something pushed on the back of his head twice. He turned around and nothing was there on both occasions. I calmly tell him that practice was over in 5 minutes and I'd be on my way, and told him he'll be okay. I mentioned for him to let the dog in the house to give him company and make him feel more comfortable. About a month later, I came home from work finding both my kids bundled up in the same blanket, holding each other while sitting on my daughter's bed. I asked if they were cold, even though it wasn't cold in the house. They said no, that they were scared. I asked my son what happened, and he told me he heard a noise in my room and went to see what caused it. And when he walked in the room, he saw a dark figure in my room. He said it turned to walk away and got smaller and smaller until it disappeared. A couple weeks later, again, this time when he went to my room to see what caused a noise, he saw the black figure again, and this time it was peeking out of the door frame of my bathroom, went slowly back in there, and was gone. From time to time, even now, my dog will get very scared, start shaking, growling, and barking. But I'd find nothing. When she acts like that, she's afraid and won't go into the room where she is directing her attention. Sometimes it's the living room, dining room, or foyer. My first experience in the house was about 4 to 5 months ago. It was in the afternoon and no one was home but the dog and myself, and I'm on the couch when I hear a noise like something fell in the area of my kids' rooms. My dog jumps up and out of her sleep and runs over to the source of the noise. At the doorway to the hall, she stops, jerks back with her tail between her legs, and runs back to me, shaking. My immediate thought is someone just broke into the house, but if that was the case, my dog would have barked and most likely attacked. So just in case, I grab a big knife from the kitchen and my dog by the collar. I had to practically drag her with me to see what caused the noise and her fear. I checked my daughter's room and my son's room and their bathroom and saw nothing. On the second look of my daughter's room, I noticed one of her pictures had fallen off the wall, but the back was still hanging. The frame and picture are what fell, but now my dog wouldn't have been scared about the picture falling because that happened before she went to investigate something in that room. Something there scared her after that fact. A few months ago, we were getting the dog some food out of the garage. My son was startled, and I asked him what the problem was, and he said he saw a dark figure taller than me standing next to me for a moment while I opened the door to the garage. About 2 months ago, while in my bathroom, standing in front of the mirror fixing my hair, I turned my head towards the doorway to my room, and a white mist shot by real fast at eye level. Of course, I was startled and jumped. Last month and the month before, the same thing happened. While in bed at night, laid back and reading, I felt something put pressure on my foot towards the end of the bed. It was enough pressure both times that it felt like something sat on my foot, and the weight of it pulled on the bed some. I set my book down to see what it was and saw nothing. I was really scared but couldn't do anything but go back to reading, hoping to keep my mind off of just what just had happened. Last Saturday, some friends of mine came over for some ghost hunting. One of them has begun to do that on a regular basis back in Florida. He brought a video camera, digital camera, a recorder, and a K2 meter. We had some results, spikes in the K2 meter, intelligent responses with the K2, noises, drop in room temperature, and EVP, and someone being touched twice. I knew what my kids and I have been experiencing is real, but I feel better that the others have had experiences as well. I'll write on the details of that night in another story. And they never did. This story is from 2008, so there was never any update to that, so that's pretty scary stuff, though. Pretty spooky stuff, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we roll here on the portal, though. So, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show, and I hope it was full of fun and knowledge and a good experience for all. It was for me. I always like doing it, so thank you all so much for being here. Tomorrow night, we are going to be joined by both Stephen Major and Adam Davies. They're going to be joining us for the first half hour of the show. Unfortunately, they can't stay for the whole thing, but they'll stay for a while, and we'll talk to them. And again, all in preparation for Don and I heading over to Medellin Falls this weekend to be a part of the Bigfoot Town Hall that's going on over there in Medellin Falls. It's going to be a great experience, and if you need information about it or anything, just let me know. Reach out to me on Facebook, and I'll get you the information if you're in the area. Love to meet you. Love to see you. It's going to be a lot of fun, and Adam Davies is going to be speaking there, as well as Dr. Robert Alley, who is out of Alaska, and he is an incredible guy. most people liken him to like a Jeff Meldrum, another person like that, which is really cool because the field of Bigfoot is really coming of age in a lot of ways. A lot of people are starting to look at this with more credibility, and it's really exciting to see more doctors and people of science jumping on board because I think the field needs that. It needs that credibility and that, I mean, I should be careful how I say that. People believe in it regardless, and that's fine and that's good. But it's kind of neat that at least some scientists and doctors are getting involved in this research and in this discovery, and are coming forward. He's written, Dr. Alley's written a book, and his book is called, let me get this, it's called Rain Coast Sasquatch, Bigfoot of Southeast Alaska. And of course, Adam Davies has a new book out as well. And he's got several out there. And if you're not familiar with Adam Davies, he's literally a global researcher and investigator of the Bigfoot phenomena, and just an incredibly nice guy. I met him last fall at Spokane at the Bigfoot Roundup over there, and there'll be another one of those this fall as well. So keep your ears peeled for more announcements about that. Don and I will certainly be there as well this year. But we are going to be over there, and it should be a good event. That, again, will be on the 7th over in Medellin Falls, Washington State. So hope you guys can make it. But I guess that's going to wrap it up for me. Again, tomorrow night, Adam Davies and Stephen Major of Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC will be joining us right off the top of the show. So hope you guys will be there. Come and join us. And then we'll have just a hell of a time like we always do. So, all right, guys, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody.